DeepSeek is back with a new release called Terminus, an upgrade to the v3.1 model from August, and it packs a lot more than just a version bump. If you've been keeping an eye on the AI space, you know DeepSeek has been pushing this hybrid reasoning approach, where their models don't just generate text, they actually function like agents, tapping into external tools to get real tasks done. With Terminus, they're clearly doubling down on that. So, let's talk about it. One of the first things people noticed is that Terminus is much more consistent when it comes to handling English and Chinese. Previous versions sometimes mixed the two languages or even threw in random characters, which annoyed developers who wanted stable output. This release fixes most of that. And beyond the text consistency, the built-in agents like the code agent and the search agent got real upgrades. DeepSeek says they've tightened up reliability so the outputs don't just look plausible, but actually hold up when tested. You can really see it in the benchmarks. On BrowseComp, which is all about multi-step live web searches, the old v3.1 scored 30 flat. Terminus bumped that all the way up to 38.5. On Terminal Bench, it went from 31.3 to 36.7. That's not a small difference. It shows the model is better at using tools effectively, and this is becoming the real differentiator between these hybrid systems. At the same time, though, there's a trade-off. On the Chinese language version of BrowseComp, scores slipped a bit, which suggests they optimize more for English web performance this time. For pure reasoning tasks where no external tools are used, the gains are there, but they're much smaller. Now, Terminus hasn't dropped its dual mode setup. It still operates in both. There's DeepSeek Chat, which they call the non-thinking mode. That's for straightforward conversations, function calling, JSON outputs, and all the lighter stuff. And then there's DeepSeek Reasoner, which is the thinking mode that kicks in for tougher multi-step problems. Chat mode has a max output of 8,000 tokens, defaulting to 4,000, while Reasoner mode goes all the way up to 64,000 tokens, defaulting to 32,000. Both modes can process up to 128,000 tokens of context in one go. That's about 300 to 400 pages of text in a single input and output, which is pretty generous, even though it doesn't hit the insane 2 million token context that Grok 4 Fast advertises or the 1 million from Google Gemini 2.5 Pro. The way the system handles requests is also interesting. If you send something to the Reasoner mode, but the task requires tool use, it gets automatically routed back through the chat model. So they're clearly trying to streamline things, making sure the right system handles the right workload. And on top of that, Terminus supports function calling, fill-in-the-middle completions, JSON outputs, all those things developers want when they're building structured applications. Whenever you're working on something big, the hardest part usually isn't the idea itself, it's keeping everyone aligned and moving in the same direction. And the timing couldn't be better because Miro, who's also sponsoring today's video, was built exactly for this. It's a single workspace where you can map ideas, systems, and timelines in a way that makes sense for the whole team. Complex processes turn into clear diagrams. With layers, you decide how much detail each person actually sees. Miro AI makes it even quicker. Generate flowcharts, UMLs, or ER diagrams straight from notes. Or import entire cloud setups from AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud and run instant cost checks. Everything stays in sync. You can embed diagrams into Notion or Confluence, present them directly with slides, or share asynchronously with TalkTrack. Planning also feels lighter. Link tasks from Jira or Trello, track sprints and dependencies, and use ready-made templates for stand-ups, retros, and reviews. Less confusion, fewer meetings, faster progress. Map it, solve it, ship it, all in Miro. Try it today. You'll find the link down in the description. All right, now back to DeepSeek Terminus. The training side is pretty interesting too. Terminus got an extra boost with 840 billion more tokens than the last version, plus a brand new tokenizer and updated prompt templates. They've refined both the data and the scaffolding, and you can see the results in benchmarks beyond just BrowseComp. For example, Simple QA went from 93.4 to 96.8. VGI Verified moved from 66 to 68.4. Swibench Multilingual climbed from 54.5 to 57.8. These are all meaningful jumps. Even on broader reasoning tests like GPQA Diamond, it moved from 80.1 to 80.7. And on Humanities Last Exam, from 15.9 to 21.7. It's not a straight win across the board, though. On Codeforces, which measures competitive programming skills, the score slipped a bit from 2091 down to 2046. A few other coding-heavy benchmarks like ADR Polygon took a small hit too. That's the kind of trade-off you usually see when a model is tuned hard for one strength, like tool use and stability, while giving up a little in raw coding speed or precision. DeepSeek even acknowledged they lean towards consistency and stronger agent performance, and the numbers make that clear. If we zoom out a bit, DeepSeek's positioning is really clear. Their R1 model released earlier this year is still the heavy hitter when it comes to math, logic, and structured problem solving, but it's slower and more expensive to run. V3.1 and now Terminus are more versatile, cheaper, and faster for general-purpose work. The big focus here, as expected, is the pricing. DeepSeek has been aggressive on this front since day one, and they haven't changed that strategy. API pricing stays at 7 cents per million input tokens for cache hits, 56 cents per million for cache misses, and $168 per million output tokens. Compare that to GPT-5 at around $10 or Claude Opus 4.1 at $75 per million output tokens, and you see just how disruptive this pricing is. One video review even mentioned a slightly different breakdown, saying 27 cents per million input tokens and $1 per million output tokens, but the official numbers stick to that 168 figure. Either way, it's far below the competition, and since it's MIT licensed and open source, you can run it yourself and even use it commercially without extra costs. And one last thing before I wrap, there's already chatter that DeepSeek V4 is in development and a potential successor to R1, presumably called R2, might be on the horizon. Some analysts suggest DeepSeek has run into difficulty scaling beyond the current models, but given the pace they've been pushing updates like this, it's safe to say they're still very much in the game. All right, that's it for today.